The purpose of this podcast, honestly, is to better understand when people are becoming religious, what are certain expectations, like we said, what is maybe a good way to do it? Because I myself see a lot of people who are becoming religious, and unfortunately, they fall off. And one of the main reasons I see why they fall off is because they take on too much too fast. Mm-hmm. And when they do that, they can't handle it. It's a lot of pressure on them. And then they, instead of doing it the right way, they just completely collapse and they say, this is not for me.
So let's start in the beginning. Why should a person become religious in the first place?
Okay, so if you don't
mind,
what
are the benefits?
If you don't mind, I'd like to start off with a personal story of mine, right?
Okay, story time with Mike. Here we go.
You have a personal story, you realize?
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so
this was I
was not religious. I became religious at 20 years old, but I was a boy. I always believed in God. I knew what Hashem was. I knew that there was a God. There's that. That's the traditional beliefs. I had it all down. It's just, again, I did not keep Shabbat. I did not keep kosher. I put on tefillin very sporadically, whenever I felt like it. Like after 13, I put it on very consistently for a couple of years, and then I just stopped the older I got. And then for many years, I was like completely not religious at all.
After that?
After
your bar mitzvah?
After my bar mitzvah, yeah. I put on tefillin very rarely, because nobody was pushing me to do it, and I didn't go to shul. Yom Kippur, I didn't go to shul on Yom Kippur. We were just standing outside the synagogue, chilling around.
Was there that one moment in your life where you finally said in your mind, okay, now I have to dedicate myself? What was that change? What was that click?
I'll be honest with you, a big reason why I became religious is because of you. You started ascending the ladder of religion, like I say.
It's actually a book. There's a book called Ascending the Ladder.
14, actually, I did not know that, but you were like 14 years old, right? You had an incident in your life, and you always kind of brought this upon us. Danny, me, Joey, and our other friends. So you always. I remember you always just like, Mike, when are you gonna start keeping Shabbat? You always just like throw that in there, and I always told you, Yosef, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And then one day, thank God, I became ready. But
I used the fear card on you because I knew it would work. With you,
yes.
we're gonna talk about
with everybody.
No. With him,
fear doesn't work with everybody, bro.
Yeah, it's not.
I remember. I'll tell you one.
It depends on the person.
And I think this is going to be a great way to start. I'm not a fan, and me and Danny always spoke about this. I'm not a fan of people become religious when there's a tragedy. I understand that sometimes there's a necessity.
It's common, unfortunately.
But yes, and me and Danny always spoke about this. Why do people become religious when something bad happens? Why does it have to get to that point where then, you go find God? Mm-hmm. No. And me and Danny always have like conversations about this where, no, we wanted to not take that route. We wanted to find God without a tragedy. And Baruch Hashem, I did, and Danny did, and I honestly, personally, I don't know much of your story, and I hope you're going to share it here. But yours was sort of a tragedy, I guess you want to call it.
Mine was a story that I'm going to share, hopefully, but I'm going to let Danny say something first.
What do you mean? You were part of it.
So my story also resonated with Yosef. Yosef and Joey, actually, both were friends. We were at a non-kosher place.
Shout out to Joey.
We were at a non-kosher place having food.
I was doing Kiruv. I had to be there.
I just turned 18.
Where was it? Do you remember?
I remember
Let's set the scene. This is many years ago.
This is when we were 18. This is 2010. Summer of 2010.
He's good with dates. That's one thing you guys are going to learn about Danny. He knows exactly the weather at the exact moment of big events in life.
We
just came out of
Catholic carnival.
The church. Yes, in St. John's.
Which is, by the way, not allowed.
Yeah, okay, so anyway.
Right, it's outside.
No. The money that you're going goes to fund the church. It's not permitted whatsoever. And still, the whole area is entrenched with impurity of idol worship, which is for another time, which we don't want to talk about now.
So we're sitting there having great discussions. Somehow religion came up, and I told Yosef, I said, Yosef, like Mike just mentioned, I don't like when people turn to religion when something bad happens to them. I was like, it's almost like hypocritical. I understand why they do it. Sometimes it comes down to it, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just didn't want to be that kind of person. I didn't want to come to God when something went wrong in my life. So Yosef asked me, he's like, how's your life right now? I said, bro, my life is perfect. Lakers just won a championship.
Big Lakers fan.
Not anymore, but whatever. Just graduated, everything, got into any school I wanted. Everything was perfect in my life, like peak. Whatever I wanted, I needed, I had. And Yosef was like, well, maybe now is a good time. That way you won't be a hypocrite. I was like, you're right. I was like, but I just don't know what to do. And I was like, I don't believe the rabbis. I was like, I feel like they put their own things into it. I just believe the 10 Commandments. That was my thing. Just the 10 Commandments. Yosef was like, yeah, you believe the 10 Commandments? He's like, one of the 10 Commandments is keeping Shabbat. I was like, oh, it is?
Number 4.
I didn't really put 2 and 2 together. I was like, oh, if it's keeping Shabbat. I was like, you know what? This week I'm turning 18. Let me test it out. I just want to try it. No commitment, nothing. Just want to test it out for a week. That week, you guys all came to my house. It was my birthday.
Good.
We had a meal. And that's when I kept Shabbat, that Friday night. Going to Saturday, my family came over from my house. I remember I went to Mike's house after, and it was a great Shabbat for me. Peaceful. It was like, I didn't expect to feel that way on Shabbat. I just thought I was going to be bored. That's what I thought. I was going to not touch electricity. I was going to be bored, and then next week I wasn't going to do it again. But after Shabbat ended, I was like, wow, I want to try this again next week. Nobody pushed me. Nobody pressured me. You didn't say, oh, how was nothing. I just I called you, I think, right after. I was like, I'm going to do it next week again. I did it again. I did it consistently. I never not did it from that point forward. But I got bored. I didn't know what I was doing. All I was doing was just not touching my phone, not watching TV, and just going to the park.
Right. So that's the next aspect. The growth aspect of it comes over time.
I want to add to this. When I started keeping Shabbat a couple of months later, it was, before I started keeping Shabbat, he would come to my house and be like, Mike, do this. Mike, because
he was my
you were the Shabbat boy.
He was my Shabbat boy for the first.
Because we didn't understand, the rules behind it. We just understood you yourself can't do it. So if another person is not keeping Shabbat, I can just tell him to do it. Whatever. So I'm like, Dad, does this really keep a Shabbat for you, bro? I'm just basically doing everything for you. He's like, whatever. At the end of the day, that's a start, right? And then I started keeping Shabbat.
And we went to shul.
And no, but he was gonna say it was getting boring because again the summer just ended.
You had no Shabbat schedule.
And we kept Shabbat when it was the longest. That also I think helped because in the summer that also helped.
But also it was getting to a point where it was getting stagnant because we didn't want to watch TV on Shabbat anymore. Like okay, the TV is on, so we'll just watch it. We wanted to do something, so that's when we started to go into shul. We met somebody named Cohen. And that's when we started learning. And when we started learning,
that opened up the whole
learning about it. We started appreciating it.
Shabbat became not only just Shabbat's cool. I'm relaxing. I don't have my phone. I'm chilling. It became sensational.
Yeah, we had a schedule.
A different aura.
We learned, and then after Shabbat, remember, we used to meet up with our friends and we would just talk about what we learned. And we would argue with you.
That. We used to go out on Saturday night and talk about
Carl's and Gabby's.
Yeah, it's a different place now.
No more.
Let me share my story quickly. It's a pretty intense story. I was 13 years old at the time. I had an uncle who was living with us. My mother's brother, who's actually a lot younger than him. He's only 6 years older than me, so he always felt like my older brother. He grew up in Israel, but then he moved here, and he had a major tragic event that happened to him, a major car accident where he was spared, and the other person in the car became paralyzed for life. So after that, he and his wife to be at the time started becoming a lot more religious, and he grew up in Israel. He understood Hebrew. He latched on very quickly, and he started telling us stories at home. Remember, I'm 13 years old at the time. I remember I had a cast, I had a broken arm. Remember that story? I had a broken arm wrestling in our friend's house. It was in another person's house, and he still has the footage of that, by the way, which he's still holding hostage against me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had a cast. It was the summertime. The Shabbats were long, and after hearing all those stories from my uncle, I said, you know what, fine, let's keep this one Shabbat. Let's try it. So what would happen on Shabbat was, he would stay home, obviously, he was keeping Shabbat. Me, I would stay home. My parents were not home, okay, they're not from there, they didn't come from that background, they would go to work at the time. And I had 2 little brothers. Here's one of them, right? So he used to go with my parents. So if I'm 13, they're, what are you? 9 years old, 8, 9 years old.
8, 9 years old. Yeah.
So he would go with my parents. Our other brother, who was his twin, his fraternal twin, he stayed home with me. So he also tried to keep Shabbat that week. So we're keeping Shabbat, and of course, my uncle would go to shul and go in the morning to pray, in the afternoon to pray. He's part of the schedule. We just sort of latched on to do however we could. So we went to shul in the morning. Now the afternoon shul, mincha time on Shabbat, he would travel all the way to Main Street, where his wife-to-be lived at the time. He wanted to interact with her family, all the way to Main Street to presently, the big shul, Rabbi Igal Chaim of shul, Rabbi Chaim of shul. He would go, Simcha. He would go all the way there. That was a long walk. We lived in Fresh Meadows. It was about an hour walk. So me and my little brother, I'm 13, he's 9. We're sitting there, we're thinking, we're not going to walk this whole way right now. We'll just stay home. We'll figure it out. I mean, we used to stay home all the time by ourselves. What's the big deal? We didn't want to make that whole walk. There was a whole back and forth discussion, debate. Should we go? Should we not? Finally, we decided somehow, I don't know what pushed me, we decided to go. Long walk. It was during the summertime. Shabbat finished late. By the time we took the bus home, it was 10 p.m.
And don't forget, there were no precautions where Shabbat lights, everything was dark in the house.
Right. So we didn't, this is the first Shabbat, we had no idea how to prepare. We had no timers. We didn't know what to do with the lights. We were trying to, we knew that electricity you can't touch. So we weren't trying. If I'm 13,
2005.
Yeah, 2005. So finally, we come home on the bus. My parents are already home with my little brother Ilya, and he can tell you this part of the story better. But when we get there, all the lights were on in the house. The doors were open. My parents didn't touch it. They said, "Don't touch it, don't touch it." Why? Don't tamper with the evidence. The cops were coming. Apparently, the house was ransacked at that time. During that time, between the time that we left to Mincha and came back, we left around, 5, 6 o'clock, came back at 10. In that time window, the house was ransacked.
For some reason, I'm hearing the story not for the first time, but I always thought
I told you this story.
I know, but I always thought it was during Shacharit.
No, it was nighttime.
So what happened was when we walked in, the entire house was destroyed. Everything
was flipped upside down.
For a certain moment, I think me and my parents thought that maybe they just had some friends over and they were.
What a party!
No, because you know what it was? We went to his room. We saw all the closets were emptied out. His bed was all over the place. I think at a certain point, my parents thought that you came over or whatever.
The whole house?
But then when we realized, when we went to the kitchen, living room, and everything was destroyed, like, no, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
I don't think you also would do that.
One thing led to the other, and I was a kid. My father figured out much faster than I did. He goes, listen, we got robbed.
Yeah.
House got
No,
robbed.
the TV was gone. No, I heard the TV.
Everything was gone. At that time,
Major electronics. My laptop was gone. Yeah.
At that time, if you rob a electronic now, you can track it. At that time, nothing was trackable.
Yeah.
Everything was brand new, I remember.
Yeah.
And they took every single item.
And you
possible.
guys just moved like this.
The crazy thing is, I was a 13-year-old kid with a 9-year-old little brother. I had a broken arm. We were going to keep the lights off. We were trying to keep
that was
Shabbat.
the whole point.
We were trying to keep Shabbat. They would have broken in and saw us there. Who knows what would have happened to us?
Yes.
Didn't you tell me you found something in the closet that they were going to use if they saw people?
What?
What did you say?
Yeah, you used to say there was like box cutters.
There was a box cutter, a rope
box cutters and ropes that you
in
found.
the closet, something that you found.
I don't remember that.
I think that was just his
Traumatization.
Yeah. So the whole idea was not just getting robbed; it was getting robbed on Shabbat with the lights off.
Right. So the point is, at that moment, I had an epiphany. Something hit me hard. I was a 13-year-old kid, but I was, a pretty good thinker for my age. And I thought, okay, God is clearly speaking to me openly right now.
Clearly.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
The one time you started to keep Shabbat, you almost didn't go. You could have been God knows where right now.
Yeah.
I said, okay, from now on, I'm keeping Shabbat for the rest of my life. And that's where everything started.
Yeah.
Also, good thing your house got robbed. It helped us.
Right? Listen, phenomenal effect.
Some of our family members, I'm not going to say who, I'll use the word, they had a Calvahomer, where basically they're saying is if you were home, then maybe they wouldn't have came in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I like this.
Because those are the anti-Torah people are saying that. They're using the
Calvahomer.
When it's convenient for them, they use the Calvahomer.
The basic saying is, if they would have walked in and saw two kids on the couch, they would have completely turned around.
Yeah, sure.